Hey guys, it's Kevin with Junkyard Digs.
And Mook from Junkyard Mook.
And today we will be presenting to you the winners of the 2021 Deboss InterNEtional Car Show Revive and Drive Trophy.
We had 566 entries and we dug through them all.
It took forever and there were some absolutely incredible builds in there.
Out of the 566 entries, you guys went through and voted for the top 25.
And we've gone through that 25 and selected our winner. But before we get to that, we're gonna go through and show you some of our absolute favorites from the bunch. Okay, first of all of the entries on here are absolutely incredible, and Mook and I could not be more proud of you guys for going out there and putting rusty, old, crappy cars back on the road where they belong. So from the depths of our hearts, thank you for doing what we can. Mook and I are only two people, but if our community comes together, we can put hundreds of piles of crap back on the road, and we are all about that. All right, let's go through some favorites.
Alright, one of my favorites was this 1969 Le Mans here. This guy actually saved this car from going out into a field to rot for the rest of its life. He saved this at his grandparents' house until COVID hit actually, and he found time to make this run and work. And he was able to drive it down the street to a car show for the first time in who knows how many years. And I think that's awesome.
One of the vehicles that caught my eye was this 73 F100 Explorer. This guy drove past this for years. And then he stopped to look at it one day, and on his 15th birthday, it was sitting in his garage at home. He got it going with a carb rebuild, oil change, a few other bits of basic maintenance, and it sounds like it's gonna be a car he's driving as soon as he gets his license. That's pretty awesome. Another great entry is this 72 F250 4x4. This guy had been bugging his neighbors about buying this truck for years, and the neighbor finally gave in. He purchased it, threw a battery and some gas in it, drove it home, at which point he tried to take it to town, lost an oil pump, got towed back, lost a fuel pump, got towed back, ran out of gas, and I'm assuming got towed back. It sounds like this was a great learning experience and an awesome revival. Good job.
Alright, another one that I liked is a car named Mabel. I'm not gonna say why they named it that, because it's inappropriate, but I think it's hilarious. Mabel had been sitting in a garage since the 80s, I believe it was 83. And the original owner took very good care of this until he passed away. His wife shoved it in a garage, and in 2020, Mabel had a new owner, and he brought her back to life and showed her off. Found something in the trunk that gave her name, and that's about it. But good job on bringing Mabel back to life.
All right, this one's actually probably one of my all-time favorites. In fact, we had a lot of stuff that didn't even make it in the top 26 that we absolutely loved and wished would have been there instead of some of the things that were, because they were better fits for our category. This here is a 76 F250 Camper Special. This truck was brought back to life by a 14-year-old named Jake who had spotted this truck sitting in the backyard where it had been for 20 years. He and his dad brought it home, got it running and driving for the first time, and are currently in the process of putting it back on the road. I believe this has a 460, and it's honestly in excellent shape. Like, that thing is awesome. I actually came across the YouTube video here before I knew it was on the Deboss show. And honestly, there's nothing cooler than that right there.
First time in 25 years?
Next up, we have a 91 Mustang GT. Now you may say that's not really a classic, but it's still a revival. You can have modern revivals if stuff's been sitting. The owner of this car had been watching our videos and became inspired to put a car back on the road, so he found this Mustang for dirt cheap, brought it home, started redoing the electrical system, became discouraged, let it sit for a little while, saw some more of our videos, went back out there with newfound determination and brought this car back to life. He's replaced a ton of sensors and sounds like he's still in the process of putting it back on the road, but that is a pretty awesome ride.
Alright, I tend to pick revivals I like based on the story. I like it. I'm sure you guys know by now that I very much like this body style of Ford. But this one's actually a 79, so they probably don't get yelled at all the time. This guy's grandfather bought his dream truck after he bought land in Wisconsin, went back to the country life after serving in World War II, and bought his dream truck. Now, he used this on the farm for a while. It got parked after he passed away. His grandson, who lives on the East Coast, was the only car person in the family, so he came to rescue it, towed it all the way back to the East Coast, and got it up and going again. And I think that's awesome. You have a good looking truck, sir. I really like it.
All right, next up, 64 Mercury Comet that was literally sitting for 22 years with the front windows down in what looks to be a collapsed barn. This guy drug this thing out, took it home, got it running and driving, and has put it back on the road. If that doesn't scream absolute revival status, I don't know what does. Good job, sir. 74 Plymouth Barracuda. This is actually an Iowa car. There's actually a surprising amount of Iowa cars in here. I don't know why we have such a fan base in Iowa. That's weird. This car was pulled out of a field in 2011 where it had sat for about 30 years. He put a new 318 in that he got for about $100, duct taped some sheet metal to the floor, and has been driving it that way to this day. Bad ass.
Okay, this 1962 Mercury was rescued just in the nick of time. The previous owner apparently was just about to send it to the crusher the next day. The part that made me laugh out loud was he said, "I bought it for 1,500 Canadian, which in American dollars is basically free."
A pack of darts and a Tim Horton.
So the car sat for 14 years, the guy made it run, and now it's back on the road.
Next up, we have a 65 Ford Galaxy 500 that had been parked since '78. This guy bought it from under his buddy's carport, drug it home, did a little bit of basic maintenance, put a new water pump on it, and put it back on the road. Hell yeah, brother. This 1977 Monte Carlo has a pretty sweet story behind it. The owner of this needed a 350 transmission for his C10, so he called up his dad's high school friend who said, "Hey, just take this whole car, it's got a good 350 trans in it," thinking he'd never see it again. This man brought it home, went through the car, got it running and driving again, and put it back on the road, which enabled his dad's friend to sit behind the wheel of his high school car one more time. Another 77 with an excellent story. This F100 Custom was bought out of a field where it sat for 15 years, where that owner tried to make it run, gave up, and it sat for about another 3, to where this guy came and bought it. In time, the inevitable happened and his daily driver's ignition system failed, so being a desperate 20-year-old, he went out to this thing with a can of gas and a battery, got it running and started driving it. And he's been driving it ever since. In fact, he moved from southern Minnesota all the way up to right near the border, and this is what brought him there.
Next up is this 1966 Pontiac GTO. They said that this used to be a street racing car back in the late 60s and early 70s. He said it was parked in a leaking garage in 1972, so the floors and the trunk were just rotted away. But he replaced them, got to work on the car, and now it's back on the road. Because of this car's street racing heritage, it came with 550 gears, a 428, and a 455 HO. That's insane.
Another Iowa car. This 83 GMC Sierra 2500 had been sitting next to this guy's house for a long time. In fact, so long that when he was a kid, he would go play in it and play with all the buttons and switches. Much later in life, he finally convinced his neighbor to sell it. He bought it, drove it home, did some basic maintenance, rattle canned it black, put some new tires and brake lines on it, and has been driving it daily to this day. Well done, fellow Iowan. Last but not least, another one I saw on YouTube before I saw it on the website, 1950 Dodge Power Wagon. This thing is pretty awesome. It had been sitting in a barn for 40 years. These guys drug it out, put it on a trailer, brought it home and started tinkering with it, got it to run and drive, and eventually put it back on the road. Well done. All right, Mook, it's time. Should we announce the winner of the 2021 Deboss Garage InterNEtional Car Show Revive and Drive Trophy?
Before you hurt yourself.
Yeah, that's a lot of words. I don't know how many times I can do that.
And the winner is... I can't do that. It's me! I win! No, just kidding.
Before we announce the winner, actually, we want to say thank you one more time to everyone who donated to the charity cause for this event, entered their vehicle in the event, voted for other vehicles in the event, everything. It was awesome to see the outreach we had and see how many cars we have helped put back on the road through your guys' hands.
Are you ready to hear the winner?
I am.
Are you excited?
Yes.
The winner is the 1970 Plymouth Sport Fury GT. This thing sat in a junkyard for 20 years.
That's right, and he brought it home, put a new frame under it, did some other heavy lift maintenance, and put a very uncommon Mopar back on the road. And that is what we are all about. So congratulations to the owners of that car. They are the winners of the Revive and Drive trophy for the 2021 Deboss InterNEtional Car Show. We're super excited to see what more you guys pull out of the woods over the coming year, so we'll see you right here next year for the 2022 show.
Yeah!
Peace.